residents to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. Our guest today you may recognize from Conan, College Humor, The Other Guys, The Pete Holmes Show, and much, much more. It's Matt McCarthy. Thanks for joining us.
Well, hello there. Greetings, friends.
Holy shit.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. That's
Thank you for having me.
It's kind of, oh god, it's sort of weird for me because I know you like comics. I know from your TikTok, from obviously stuff that you've worked on, the Batman sketches, all those kind of things before. But like, what was the thing that first got you in? You obviously keep finding a way to come back to comics, but what was your like first experience with it?
Well, I was the youngest, in my family till my niece and nephew were born. And by that, I mean, my brother and sister are 9 and 10 years older, and my cousins are all about 10 years older. So there was always, when I was probably at my most impressionable, there was always wrestling on TV and comic books on the tables. And, certainly remember, like, it's crazy that I was born in November 79 and having very early memories of if my brother had a duplicate of like an Amazing Spider-Man, my mother basically ordering him to, the extra copy. Or I remember my cousin John had, he was more like he had like Captain America's and Iron Man's around and stuff. But particularly those really young years in front of the television at the very tail end of the Spider-Man animated series, which then turned into Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. The Super Friends was kind of coming to a close. The Secret Wars toys, the Super Friends, whatever, the Superpowers toys. And then there was like, I will never get sick of Marvel movies as much as friends of mine will complain, or the industry will complain or whatever, because of that there was such a glut of no superhero representation on TV or movies for most of the 80s. It's actually insane when you think about it. But so I think that also fueled, like, that was the only place I could get my fix, because obviously I was love watching TV, love watching cartoons, and there was always like that, why isn't there Spidey on TV?
So then that would put you at like 10 years old or almost 10 years old when Batman comes out as a movie. Was that like a moment like for you, if you kind of grow up around comics and wrestling, which is comics in its own way kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Was Batman like one of those kind of formative things? Did you get to see it when it came out?
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to think if we saw it in the theater. I must have seen it in the theater. I must have. And I had and then by that Christmas, it was on VHS, and my brother gave it to me for Christmas, and I still have the VHS. And it's the tape starts with like the Diet Coke commercial with Alfred.
Oh my god, that's awesome!
Holy shit! So that was huge, and I remember at the time, either when the movie was coming out or right before it was coming out, like I started buying, obviously, like Batman comics, and so then they were right in the middle of the Many Deaths of Batman storyline,
right?
Which, talk about a to like, if there's however many parts to it, 5 or 6, and then to just be like, okay, I like Batman now, and then picking up issue 5 of that, like, I don't understand Batman comics. But my best friend, my whole life, Vin McGinn.
Great name.
Great name.
Good name.
He was the DC guy and I was the Marvel guy, and so he was very much, had even back then in the 80s, like the trades of, like, Batman's greatest villains and all stuff like that. And he had a parakeet. No, it wasn't a parakeet. It was a small bird. It didn't talk, so it wasn't a parakeet. But it was just like a little sparrow, whatever.
Stupid fucking bird doesn't even talk.
Named Nightwing.
Oh awesome. Yeah. That fucking rules.
That is pretty cool. Actually,
I want a bird.
Him and I together, we were like, it dawned on us. We were like, why doesn't like Dick Grayson and Peter Parker know each other?
Right.
It's like realizing, like, oh, these are two different things.
Right. Like the industry mechanism behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That we got close for them to potentially.
It's funny too, like to be growing up in the 80s, a notoriously dark and gritty period for comics.
Not like us, the 90s, where things were
to watch
radical.
the Burton Batman, that first one. I mean, it has its own sense of humor and things like that. The second one is like German expressionism, and Danny DeVito says the word pussy. It's like, pussy. And like that's the era in which you're being like brought into comics. But certainly from what I see of you online, it seems like you've got like a real love for the stuff that came earlier.
Definitely.
Like the sillier stuff. It's so what was it that kind of made that shift? It's so funny to think that you're growing up in like the darkest era of Batman.
Right. And I think that like, Frank Miller, Alan Moore, tone in the 80s. I think that was why you didn't get suddenly there was just like superhero cartoons stopped.
Yeah,
because I think that there was probably a perception in the industry, there must have been, of like, oh, we're in a postmodern era of comics, and like the kids who were once kids are now adults, and we have to appeal to them.
Yeah,
which everything goes in cycles. There is a certain mentality, I think, with the movies, with that industry, that it's like, well, it's got to be PG-13 because these kids, and it's like they are. I think it's just. I mean, this is a different conversation, but I mean, I think that is typical of just the movie industry in general. It's like, oh, the Batman movies work, so we'll do that. They want it dark, and then it's like, no, I don't need a dark Spider-Man movie, or even like a dark Superman movie. I think that's not
the thing that worked. That it wasn't it being dark was the thing.
The wrong lesson.
Once I was able to, pick up more trades, and then either best ofs or then the collections and stuff, and when Marvel was doing it's so crazy to me that we have gotten to the point where like the Marvel Essential or like the DC Showcase, you can still find the DC Showcase, the black and white reprints. That ones. But like the Marvel, I was at a comic book store looking for one, and the guy was like, oh, they don't even print those anymore. Now they're actually being resold and I'm like, I can't believe I found the day where now the black and white reprints that nobody wanted are now being sold.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then it truly was like, I think it was with Superman in particular. I think Batman, I think, works better dark and back. I enjoy some of it, and certainly like the Adam West type stuff, and in the books, like the whatever. But I mean, with Superman, I think the reason that they haven't found a formula since the Richard Donner films that works for Superman on film is because they don't understand what worked about Superman. And I think what worked best about Superman was in the Silver Age, because it is so preposterous that he is like this omnipotent being, yet he maintains this, Midwestern, a sense of right and wrong, and kind of a that Huckleberry aw shucks type thing.
Yeah.
And then made all the more, I think when I first found out about the Fortress of Solitude and the fact that he built robots for himself.
He's got an alien zoo and shit like that. Yeah.
right. I think once I got the backstory of I think I was asking Vim again once when we were kids, I was like, why does Batman have that huge penny in the Batcave?
Right.
And then reading that story, and I was just like, I loved the acknowledgement of the history, but there was something about the Superman and the extended family around him of just the Jimmy Olsen shit, and when he would get all the powers, or he had the staff and he could have wishes and stuff. And it was the perfect balance, because it was I think inherently the problem with Silver Age Superman is that he was too powerful. So it kind of felt, I think readers, this is my understanding, obviously I wasn't alive, but my understanding is that readers found it hard to feel like he was ever going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I feel like for me reading it, it's balanced out with it's a preposterous notion. So you have to lean into that notion.
Yeah.
I think really what sealed it for me in adulthood was it's since changed, and I think I found it. I think I might have it stuck in one of these books. I have it somewhere. It's a printout. I think it was on Wikipedia, and it's worded differently now. The way these gatekeepers of Wikipedia are the worst, but. It was just a list of all of the things that happened to Superman over the years when he encountered red kryptonite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, this is everything I love about the character, the medium, the era.
Yeah.
Because I can get enjoyment. I love reading the stories, but I can also get enjoyment just looking at scrolling through covers.
Oh, yeah.
Issues of Superman, Action Comics, Lois Lane.
Some of the best covers.
That's kind of the best thing, in my opinion, about that era, too, is if you want to read it, if you have access to it, go for it. But the cover is kind of its own little, one panel, insane comic, and it kind of gives you what you need.
That one I just got that was it was Hawks with kryptonite claws. That it was Superboy.
Yeah, there's that one. I've got an old Action Comics where it's a red kryptonite one, and he's been turned into a dragon. And so Superman as a dragon is shaking a statue of Superman to say, "This is me." And everyone else is like, "That dragon's destroying Superman's statue. Get him." And it's perfect. It's basically a one panel perfect Silver Age Superman story.
Yeah, they hardly do that anymore. Once in a while you'll get one of those. And it's usually played for laughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
A cover that it's like, oh no, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Winking to the past a bit. But
so funny.
What made it so great back then is that it was so earnest. It was just this is what the kids want to see, right?
Yeah. They weren't playing the irony of its silliness. Yeah.
They need to show exactly what's going to happen. It's like the fucking TV guide descriptions for things. It's they need to have all of the information.
And I feel like that there is certain what works about the Suicide Squad, the new movie, is that balance of real world, like Tarantino level violence.
Yeah.
But balanced with that is the most comic book accurate outfits you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Them wearing, like John Cena's. It works so well because it's so it's just so preposterous.
Yeah,
someone in the real world would dress like that.
He's wearing white pants and a shiny helmet into a different country to be a covert operative.
Right.
Yeah.
So it lends itself. So I'm not suggesting that they should do a Superman with like that level of ultra violence at all. But there is something to I feel like what they are missing is the opportunity to do like a because in a lot of ways that movie, the Suicide Squad, is very similar to the Brady Bunch movie, where it's like we are going to lean into this era, this tone,
right,
but place it in real like high stakes situations,
right, yeah,
the grounded scenarios. It's the reason I think why I like that Superman for all seasons so much, because it balances that like gee golly Superman thing with sort of like this self-reflective, like esoteric
and
mindset.
I think Superman just got caught in weird eras too. Like, if a Superman movie that wasn't trying to just be a sequel to the Donner stuff came out like just after Iron Man, not when they knew that Marvel was a franchise and they were like shit, but like if it came out like in 2009, you wonder if it's like would we be slightly over the weird shame of like he wears a bright blue costume with the underwear on the outside? Like everything about Man of Steel was like but this one's cool. And I like Man of Steel. I like that movie, but it still, it feels like it suffers from that like early 2000s shame where it's like, well, we can't put them in like skin tight spandex. That's insane. Yeah, and we're kind of clawing out of that. Like Aquaman had great costumes in that movie, real kind of like colorful costumes, and Suicide Squad had really good ones.
We're getting it back. Shazam was pretty great too. Yeah.
I actually really, I really dig that Superman and Lois TV show. I think that's the Superman the films need. Yeah. Not necessarily specifically that actor, but like the tone.
Yeah.
Because that's also what I liked about All-Star Superman.
Yeah,
because it was essentially in that Silver Age, aspects of the Silver Age, but in a much like a heightened modern. But it was like he was telling Silver Age stories, because it was like Lois gets to have superpowers for a day, and it's just like. And the fact that he dies at the end, and it's just like, this is he's kind of doing his like Superman's Make-A-Wish type thing.
And he's doing like feats of strength against Atlas and stuff, and he's answering an unanswerable question. Like, it does kind of feel like they're all just kind of plucked straight out of these like one and done 60s kind of stories.
Yeah, I think that's what works best for me as a fan of the Silver Age books, is because it's much like pro wrestling. Jerry Jarrett said it once. He's like, booking pro wrestling does not need to be complicated. And I think that, look, I'm all for depth and subtext and, meaningful storytelling and twists and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know that certain characters, and maybe Superman is one of them, works best in that environment. Like I don't need Superman solving like a murder mystery.
I know.
There's something that just doesn't it just doesn't fit in that hole.
Yeah, I think
totally agree.
He needs to be looking like inward based on like the way he was raised, and like that's how he handles like these like unsolvable problems.
And he's also supposed to be, to borrow Matt's word, preposterously aspirational.
Yeah.
He's like, he is impossibly good.
Yeah.
The old Captain Marvel or like Shazam is supposed to be pure of heart, very, very, very good. Yeah. But Superman is objectively more powerful and still pure and good, and it's impossible. That's like the ultimate superpower of Superman, is that he's incorruptible, right?
Right. I mean, here's a great example of like a mystery, like a Superman mystery. And I read this as an adult. Like I read this in like my late 30s,
right?
For the first time. I can't remember her name, but it's what is it? Superman's First Love, where she's in the wheelchair and she's got the blanket over her legs, and it's just this whole drawn out.
Now we're not talking about Lana Lang. You're talking about Lori Lamaris, the one who was a mermaid, and that's why
it turns out she's a mermaid,
and that's why she was in the wheelchair with the blanket. Yeah,
my jaw dropped when I read that, because I was like, where is this going? What is happening? And then when it was the reveal, I was like, this is the most perfect.
Yeah. Because in the reveal, he finds a tank of water in her room.
Right.
He's like, oh, you're a mermaid.
Wow. I mean, let alone that like Silver Age Superman fell in love with somebody in a wheelchair. I mean, does not seem like of the time. So
sure, yeah. I mean, also Superman's ongoing relationships with people with L alliterative names.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That it's just like why does that work? It's so insane.
Yeah.
Like I love when they like in the stories where it's like, oh no, Lex Luthor was also from Smallville, and like he's had a problem with him his whole life. I'm like, this is just wonderful. I mean, the first time I saw it, like I don't even remember what it was. It was could it have been the beginning of, was it in Kingdom Come? It was definitely an Alex Ross panel or painting, and it's Superman on the farm. And I remember Vinny was like, he was naming, he was like, oh yeah, that's the super horse, that's Streaks the super cat, that's the
so silly.
Like, wait, there's a super horse?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there was a blah blah blah, and I was like, I love this. I love
crazy.
this. You know,
it's true.
It's only in Superman.
I love that so much.
We have so much to talk about, and we have a ton of questions that we got asked. So why don't we jump into them?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go over to Facebook first.
Yeah, going to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
First question comes from the one, the only Trey Schoaf, who asks, "What's up with red kryptonite in the Silver Age? It's so inconsistent. How does it give Clark an ant head?"
Let me see if I can find my list, because I have the way that it's worded is just so wonderful, and I love the inconsistency and the volatility of
it.
So, like, Doc, why don't you explain what is red kryptonite?
So, the red kryptonite is just a different like frequency, different radiation of kryptonite. And instead of...
So it's not like a different color?
It is a different color.
Oh, okay.
But instead of killing Superman or depowering him, it was literally like it would have like a random effect on his physiology. So I said, I have Action Comics 303. He turns into a dragon first because he's exposed to red kryptonite.
Amazing.
There's one where, he gets like an ant head and he's communicating with ants.
Like an Ant-Man?
I think on the cover of that one, he's like, "Come, my ants, let's get Lois. She'll be my queen." He's like, dude, it's something insane like that. But it would do it for like 24 hours or something. There's one where there's like a red kryptonite statue standing, and he's there as Clark with Lois and Jimmy, and he's like, "Oh shit, they think that's a normal statue. It's made of red kryptonite. I'm about to turn into something weird, and then they'll know I'm Superman."
Oh my god. That's so it just like makes him into shapes of like different, like, or does he have new abilities too? And
sometimes, like in the ant one, because he had an ant head, he could communicate with the ants, like with his antenna and stuff.
So green kryptonite makes him weak. Red kryptonite changes his physiology.
Green kryptonite makes him weak, eventually kills him. Red kryptonite like biologically rewrites his DNA.
That alone does not seem in line with what we've set up with green kryptonite.
I don't think that's how minerals work.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Can't hear you yet.
Yeah, we might have a little sound thing here. No.
Let me do this. So
oh, there we go.
There we go. Yep. Nailed it.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Let me check because I switched it to the speaker so I could run across the room and still hear you. Kryptonite. Because I know, like, I emailed it to myself, and like an old job I had, I definitely. Oh, come on.
I want to know what the job you had that you needed to know kryptonite. I mean, well, maybe Pete Holmes.
Oh, this was like This was like way back when I still had a day job.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hold on. Kryptonite.
It's pretty wild. The Silver Age used red kryptonite a lot, I think, in my opinion. I think it was a pretty like,
or not
it was,
enough.
Oh, yeah.
You know what the problem with Superman is? Well, he doesn't have enough powers. Let's give him something new this week.
Yeah,
it's stick it in one of these books. But I mean, it's like sometimes he would turn into a baby. Sometimes,
it was. There are
like
so many.
Sometimes he would split into like Superman and Clark Kent.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's not consistent with that at all. Yeah,
it's so wild. Red Kryptonite is truly insane stuff. My favorite though is just that I love that one where it's so many logic leaps of like, I'm here as Clark Kent. They think this is a regular statue. I know it's a statue made of red kryptonite. I'm about to turn into something weird, and thus they will find out I'm Superman because it's public knowledge.
Oh,
apparently,
really?
that red kryptonite will do this shit to Superman. I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh so much. It's so outrageous.
That's ridiculous because I don't think I've really ever encountered it. Like, did they? Because they.
Well, it's funny in more modern things. I think. In Smallville, I think red kryptonite is the one that made him like angry,
like a badass. Because that's the one where he like disappears to like Metropolis or
it's
something.
One where
right?
he's like, "Hey, Lana, I want to go to the dance."
Yeah.
Like he gets like sassy.
Big on this.
Yeah, it was the Venom thing. Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I can't wait.
Monday, February 11th, 2008, 9:03 a.m.
Holy shit!
I emailed this to myself. Superman has suffered the following effects upon exposure to various pieces of red kryptonite: being turned into a dragon, a non-powered giant, a dwarf, an ant-headed humanoid, a lunatic, an amnesiac, being made unable to see anything colored green, growing incredibly long hair, nails, and beard, being rendered totally powerless, growing fat, gaining the ability to read thoughts, growing a third eye in the back of his head, losing his invulnerability along the left side of his body, being split into an evil Superman and a good Clark Kent, being split into young and old forms, being rendered unable to speak or write anything but Kryptonese,
Okay.
growing an extra set of arms, becoming clumsy, swapping bodies with the person nearest him upon exposure to it, transferring his powers, rapidly aging, multiple personality changes, and having his skin rendered transparent, overloading him with solar power. This is my favorite part. In Krypto the Superdog, effects on Krypto include temporary amnesia, losing all superpowers, body swapping, and causing Krypto's tail to detach from his body and come to life. Now, what's not to love about the Superman?
God, that list is so worth it.
That's insane.
I'm glad you emailed that to yourself.
Yeah.
I just want to know the context. I'm in a very important business meeting. Hold on.
I love that so much.
I mean, for real.
It's just the wide gamut that it was never even always crazy. It was like sometimes it's just like, your left side's not invulnerable anymore. Everything else,
Your hair's gotten really long. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I can see it now, like the thought process of Superman. He's like, oh no, this rocket is coming towards me. I better turn so it hits me on the right side of my body.
Yeah, exactly. But if I do that, the bank robbers will be able to.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I love that.
That's fucking ludicrous. So,
well, that answered that, I think.
yeah. So the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, the answer is comics.
Yeah, because comics. All right, let's go to the next question from Roland Sebas, who asks, so many kryptonite colors, why?
So beyond red,
Yes.
and of course green,
Mhm.
there are some other colors of kryptonite. Listeners will forgive me if not all of these are strictly Silver Age colors of kryptonite.
Yeah.
But,
Sure. I mean, there's white.
So
There's
white
What does
kryptonite.
do? That
White kryptonite killed plants. I think it didn't affect him, but it affected plants.
What?
Yeah.
Or something.
There's blue kryptonite, which
That's for Bizarro.
yeah.
Yeah. And then gold kryptonite would like permanently strip his powers.
Right. Like he could never get his powers back.
And there's
Jesus.
like there's like a crystal kryptonite that has something like psychic about it. It either gives him
Yeah.
psychic powers or
Right.
something.
They did do one where what was the story? What was the series where they had where him and Supergirl go back to the Silver Age? This was in the last couple of years. This is like 10, 15 years, and then they find pink kryptonite, which
Oh.
turns gay.
Yeah.
Technically, it just made him really appreciate
Just-
Jimmy Olsen's clothing. and
I couldn't imagine a more poorly handled bit of subject matter in a comic than like, make Superman gay.
yeah.
That's
Kryptonite.
that's what
Got it.
that's what gayness is. It's just it's
You like clothing? I don't
it's-
know.
Yeah,
I mean, it
that
should be said it was a very tongue-in-cheek, like
Yes.
basically a parody of the
Yes.
Silver Age.
but yes,
but-
in that one but to do that and then also be like, "Oh, but we can't like just explicitly make that what happened." So it's just their short form for it was that Superman would be like, "Oh, Jimmy, I like your bow tie today," or whatever.
Right.
It's just, Jesus. Yes, that was that's a relatively modern story, but yes, it's riffing on that Silver Age idea. You could tell too that it's like, I think part of it is that, there are so many Superman books. Superman had a book. There was Action Comics. Superman appeared a bunch in Adventure Comics. There was also Supergirl, Superboy, which was then Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes for
course,
a
had
bit
Justice
into
League.
the 70s. And then there was also Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, Superman Family, I think, was its own book too. There were like 8 Superman books running monthly.
Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I think I might be wrong here. I don't know if they were still doing Superman strips at the time or not, but like there was just so
They may
much
have been, actually, yeah.
so much Superman happening that they were like, we cannot come up with another like red kryptonite thing. And they're like, how about gold kryptonite? They're like, great, what does it do? And they
As a matter of fact, I might be wrong, but I want to say that kryptonite first appeared on the radio show.
It did. I always get this bit confused. I can't remember if the radio show is where they first call it kryptonite or if they still called it K-Rock. Like K-Rock.
Yeah, of course, on the radio station. Yeah.
Wow. K-Rock Metropolis.
Yeah.
Rock Metropolis. You're black and green.
yeah. Traffic and weather on the twos.
Here we got Jimmy.
It's true.
right.
I think they called it K-Rock, and then I can't remember if that's what it was in the radio show.
That feels like
or
the
if the
thing they
radio
would
show is
change
where
it
they
to.
called it Kryptonite. But yes, I think it did start there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So here's a question: does Kryptonite only have all of these effects under the yellow sun, or did they have those effects on Krypton? Because like mining would be a risky business there. Like,
It-
Well, it was a risky business.
Yeah.
In some tellings of the story, that's why the building. That's why the planet blew up.
yeah. It depends on the version. In some, I think probably more modern versions, the blowing up of the planet radiated the pieces of the planet and made
Right.
kryptonite.
Mhm.
In other ones, it's that kryptonite was like forming in the core of the planet and destabilizing the planet, and it explodes. And
oh,
the
son, we
kryptonite
don't
is-
go over there. That's where you lose all your powers. Those trees over there, that'll make you gay.
But they don't have powers on Krypton, so I guess you just get normal radiation poisoning. It's just like a bunch of like exposed uranium.
Am I powerful now?
In the very, very first Superman books, it was a race of Supermen,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like the very, very first
Yeah, yeah.
ones, and then I just love that's the other great thing about Superman is the inconsistencies and like
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
much depth there is to because it's like there's the serials happening as the same time as the newspaper strips, as the comics, as the radio show.
And my dad loves those like George Reeve Superman
yeah.
serials. And the best thing about those is like he wasn't even fighting mad scientists. It was just like guys in suits were like knocking over a jewelry store and Superman would show up. Like he was only serving street level
and not
justice.
like flying or anything. He's just like punching.
Well, he would like always jump out a window and then you'd cut and then it would be him flying for a bit. And then you'd cut and you would just see George Reeve like jump into frame like he landed, and then it's great. It's so amazing.
Great. That's incredible. All right, let's go to the next question.
Sure.
All right, next question comes from Dan Dunn, who asks, can you talk about Lexor? Do you like it better when Lex is actually a benevolent leader of his world, or is just being a dictator more in line with his character?
How much Lexor have you come across in your old Silver Age Superman travels?
I don't think I'm totally familiar with Lexor.
So there was this story where, I can't remember the setup exactly, but Superman and Lex end up on this alien planet. And it's under a red... Oh, I know what it is. They want to have a fair fight. So Superman finds a planet in a system with a red sun, and they go there, and Superman is depowered, and something happens, and Lex he loses the fight, and he stumbles into the desert, and he finds like this sort of ruined society, and he helps them fix their technology, and they like laud him as like a savior. They rename the planet after him. They call it Lexor, and they make him like the grand ruler. So, and on this planet, because Lex is viewed as the hero, he gets to spin the story that Superman is the villain. So on Lexor, Lex is the hero and Superman's the villain, and he helps them rebuild their society, and he helps like terraform their planet somehow. Like, it was all desert, and he gets them water. I can't remember the setup of that. Until eventually Superman gets the truth out there, and almost everyone on Lexor turns on Lex, except for his like wife and child that lived on this planet.
Oh my God.
And the planet ends up exploding, I think, like Krypton. And everyone dies except Lex. And that planet, Lexor, is where Lex gets his first battle suit. It's made of their technology. So that like iconic battle suit that Lex ended up with, the first one, I'm pretty sure, comes from Lexor.
Okay.
That's ludicrous.
It's crazy. Because it all starts with a fair fight.
But also, how quickly they turn on him. Like, the Superman tells him, he's like, he's actually a bad guy. It's like, he still did all of this good stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Right. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on a different episode relatively recently, but just in general, Matt, how do you feel about when Lex does like a face turn?
I mean, it certainly gives the character more depth, because you can't just be, twirling your mustache while, the girl's tied to the railroad track.
Yeah. As fun as that is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I like, I like Dr. Doom better because, he is, a dictator of his own country, and like there is that so like the international community has to deal with him type of thing.
Yeah.
But like so I guess my point of bringing that up is I think there's a better way to, like, when Lex is, like when it gets to the point where it's like, oh, he's Jeff Bezos, he's the richest man, he's running this evil corporation, but everybody thinks he's got a public face and stuff. That's where it works better for me. But like when he's because he's nobody should ever be just evil.
No,
they should just think they're right, and like
right.
Because it's like, I think that's why it's so preposterous, but it's like I'm pretty sure that there is like some adventure comic or Superboy where it's like there's some experiment. It might even be the first, like, because they have like he blames Superman for the fact that he's bald. Like Superboy, there was some explosion that says it's Superboy's fault. Like he should think that he's right, but then it's like the way that but his actions are unjustified type of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's when I always prefer Lex, is when he blames all of his problems on Superman, and he thinks that without Superman he would actually be a good guy, and deep down he's like a horribly flawed person that like would need a lot more help than just to lose Superman.
Yeah.
But to him, he's actually the hero. It's Superman that's the bad guy and is keeping him from that. Like, I think that line always works really well. And the fact is like, as soon as he starts achieving all of these things and actually becoming the hero, it's never actually what he wants, but he thinks that that's the story in his head, where he's just like, I'm going to be the hero in spite of this guy. And it's like, that's actually not what he wants.
I feel like it works in the Lexor thing because he gets to tear down Superman at the same time.
Yeah.
If Earth won't view him as the hero, then on Lexor, Superman is going to be reviled. And that's kind of like, then you go like, yeah, I guess he is just doing good there, but like there's still that other thing of like, fuck you, Superman is still like kind of buried in there.
I just hope the Lexor thing is because is like an act in spite of him, and that's what they realize, is that like he's doing all these things.
I can't remember. It's been
because I think that's the key. Is it's always has to be like coming back to, he doesn't actually want to do good, he just thinks he does. And I think that's always the interesting thing about Lex. I just don't like when he's like suddenly is like the president and is just doing good.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the president one you would like. I actually think you have that arc now.
Yeah,
I think you would like that because he does have other schemes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question.
Sure.
We're leaving Facebook and heading over to Twitter.
That's Twitter.
First question comes from Jeff Whaley, who asks, any silly villain or storyline you would like to see get a modern update that hasn't yet? Ooh.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like, we've mentioned Bizarro already, and it's like, but it's like, I don't feel like they've gotten, put it this way, they should have done it with the Christopher Reeve movies.
Yeah.
You know,
though, I don't know. Like, that scares me about them at that age handling Bizarro.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because now there are these two versions of Bizarro basically out there.
Yeah,
there's the Bizarro that's kind of like the Silver Age one, where he's from a different Earth. He's from a Bizarro world. It's actually now like a parallel universe.
Yeah.
There's that Bizarro, and then there's also like the failed Superman clone that Lex made, his sort of like lapdog Bizarro. So there's a Bizarro like on the main Earth that's this like sort of modern idea, failed science experiment, and then there's this sort of Silver Agey one where he comes from a backwards Earth.
That's the preferable one, I think.
And there's a, you know what? There's a good issue in the New 52. I think it's Action Comics 40 from the New 52. It's a one and done story where Doomsday goes to Bizarro World, but instead of him landing there and like the earth burning and stuff, it's like flowers start springing and bunnies start dancing, and Bizarro's like, like it's the worst thing that could happen to Bizarro World.
That's really funny.
Doomsday is making it more beautiful, it's very cute story.
Yeah. He hasn't he hasn't come up a lot. I have that issue in like the 500s of Action Comics that he shows up, and it's a really cool issue because the entire thing is written backwards, and you don't realize it until like, because you're just like, whoa, how did this come before that? And then you start realizing, oh, the whole book or the storyline is in reverse. That's which fun. I think is really cool. But yeah, it's a character that I think that they are too afraid to use these days.
I'll tell you a story that I want to see get a modern update. Really like shine a light on it. Is the story where Lois decides to be black for a day.
Oh God.
There's a story where she's trying to like research what it's like, and she goes in this like science pod, and she comes out black for 24 hours, and
she
like
teaches like
it's so
African studies.
It is so clearly like, isn't this nice of us? Aren't we progressive?
Oh my God.
It's just so like they didn't have a chance. They were never gonna write that well. They didn't have a chance in hell.
Does she like try to talk in a specific way?
I don't think so. Not to my recollection. It's nothing quite like that, but it's just the idea of like, a white person understands you now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, do you?
I mean, at least she like used science instead of just like.
But here's my pitch though. You do the opposite so you can still have some fun with it. You go to the Earth of President Superman, where he's the cool black guy, Calvin Ellis.
Obama.
That's modeled on Obama.
Yeah.
And then that world's Lois Lane goes to be white, and then just still and discovers that even on this world, once you're in like the private company of just white people, it's still like horribly racist. Discovers that even on this world where black people have been empowered and all the stuff, that like the white supremacy thing lingers. That's my Silver Age story
what
update.
A bleak concept.
Well, you know me. I can't be too happy for too long.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I love a lot of the really like silly stuff. Like, I would love to like do a modern take on some of this weird transmutation red kryptonite stuff. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, a good, insane red kryptonite story.
Yeah,
I think
it's been too long.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I feel like they shouldn't be doing Superman movies like on, I don't know, I guess on HBO Max.
Yeah,
they should try and do like, they should be doing like streaming TV shows.
Yeah.
Or at least do like, instead of like What If with a like, you know, adult animation, but of like Superman, you know.
Yeah, I think that would work
Superman.
great.
I mean, DC used to do this thing in the Silver Age all the time where they just call it imaginary tales. They'd be like, this is not continuity. What if something crazy happened? And they would just do like a weird one-off story, and they'd go like, you could literally forget about this as soon as you're done reading it. It doesn't count. They could totally, yeah. I mean, you hate to be the one saying like they should be doing what Marvel's doing because what Marvel's doing is working. But in this case, like, part of the fun of DC is the multiverse thing, and also just like some things happened and some things didn't, and it's a weird, complicated history. You should kind of just have fun with it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I think because it's I mean, I think in that respect, it's I don't think that, because they are clearly DC, you know, EU is definitely trying to do the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's like, I don't know that it's working so well. But with Superman, there's too much for just a movie.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just started rolling out this, you know, this, because it's just this endless mythology.
Yeah.
With so much, like, there is so much to play with just in Superman alone.
And the least interesting part is like him like starting to become Superman. Like, that's the thing that they keep retelling, and it might be the most least interesting piece.
Yeah, we need him. Yeah, he's already Superman. He's got that part down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem.
We know
the
planet blew up. He's here. We know. Like, we're coming up on 100 years. We know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? Because it's like the character that has been around basically the longest, but it's the one that, like, even more than Batman, they're like,
well, yeah, because that other planet finds Krypton in the alley and shoots it, and all the planet pearls fall into the.
That's really funny. All right, next question from Jake Murphy, who asks, what goofy one-off plot would you like to see warped by the dark multiverse? Who from that world would join the unseen, as in Sideways?
So have you read any of like kind of like the metal, like that sort of stuff, the more recent kind of DC stuff?
No, I have not read them, but I have a very you know.
The short version is that the dark multiverse is like broken nightmare worlds, like what ifs where it only went horribly and it like ruined the fabric of those realities. So so the question is, which like fun, happy-go-lucky Silver Age story do you want to see go so wrong that it destroys the entire reality of that world? I think I'm with you. It's got to be a red kryptonite thing, and it like doesn't wear off.
Oh.
Like instead of it just being a weird 24-hour adventure,
It's like a red and gold or
that's
something.
it ruins Superman's life, or he can't remember who he is, or whatever it is, and it just totally like fucks the history of that world because it doesn't go away.
God, that would be such a good one shot where it is this, a guy with amnesia, almost like a Twilight Zone. I think that's what they should be doing with Superman. Like treat it like an anthology series.
Yeah.
Just Superman stories.
Yeah.
That'd be rad as hell. Holy shit.
Guy who, like almost like half of the Twilight Zones. Like a guy wakes up, doesn't know who he is, where he is, what's going on. And then the big reveal at the end is you're Superman. You've been exposed to red kryptonite and you don't remember now.
Yeah.
Just
it's crazy.
Fucking lasering eyes, everything.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
that I think you do the dragon and he just becomes like a fucking like bloodthirsty
Jesus.
Just Smaug like
That's great.
Yeah.
he's like, I am a dragon now. Like
yeah, I like that.
yeah, that's that'd be fucking cool as hell.
Yeah, what a poor fate for the happy-go-lucky Silver Age. But oh well. Yeah, I like that.
What if I loved the that TikTok that you did the other day, Matt, about your like top 10 stories.
Oh yeah, I love because I follow a lot of wrestling and comic books and movies and stuff, and it was just I got a lot of people will be like, this is a great story, and I just thought it would be a funny because it's like I do enjoy those stories, but
they're
like,
fucking ridiculous.
I think my favorite one out of that list was actually the Marvel one, the one where Thing gets on a bus to beat up Man-Thing because he doesn't like that he's taken his name.
He reads about like Ben Grimm is in a bodega and reads like a newspaper article about Man-Thing and gets so angry. I think he almost like breaks like the newsstand and then buys a bus ticket. Folks, goes down to Florida to beat the shit out of Man-Thing.
It's so
like,
funny.
I'm the Thing. You don't get to, and it's just like, as a kid, as an adult reading that, I'm just like, yes.
That's the thing that
That's
the thing I love about the Silver
Also,
Age.
Man-Thing's like, I don't call myself Man-Thing. Like,
He's like, my name is Neil or whatever his name is.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Fight.
my name's Alan. Oh wait,
Classic.
that's the other guy.
Classic Marvel 2-in-1. We get into a fight first. Now we're going to team up. I love that.
That's fucking awesome. All right, next question from Braydon. Yes, the donkey rises. Who asks, what are your thoughts on the website Super Dickery, who has reached online fame with the proposed thesis that Silver Age Superman is a dick?
Yeah,
I've never heard of this.
He'll sort of post like out of context or even sometimes in context panels from old Superman comics. But it's always like part of it is the stuff that hasn't aged well, where it's just Superman being like, "Oh, she wouldn't make a very good wife," or like some shit like
Man
that.
for Tomorrow version of
something like that. Or I don't know if he ever used this one, but there's like a Superman thing where at one point he got the power to shoot tiny versions of himself out of his hands that had his powers. So he didn't have powers. He only had the power to shoot out miniature versions of him that had all of his powers, and that he gets jealous when they are more beloved. It's like a weird petty Superman thing.
That's so wild. Did they do it on George Reeves? Or was it on the they might have done it on the radio show as well. It might have been at George. There's a couple who they're spies or whatever.
Mm.
And they figure out that Clark Kent is Superman.
Right.
And so, do you know this story?
I'm not sure.
He takes them and puts them on the top of a mountain. and like, you have to stay here. Like, you can't tell anybody like that I'm Clark Kent, that Clark Kent is Superman. And then And it's like, and then he leaves, and then it's like this thing of like, you just killed them. Like it's this thing of like, if you can get down from the mountain, it's this thing of like Superman's like, I'm going to be walking like this with my fist.
You walk into it.
It's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
that's insane.
I think
the people were jerks. They were for sure like jerks or spies or like Soviets,
they deserve this.
There was something, but
it's also that old kind of like Cold War sort of notion of justice, which is like you did this to yourself. What is Superman supposed to do? Hold your hand until you're good? Like it's kind of like back then they were like, that's the most humane thing he could do. He's got to preserve his identity. He's Superman.
Yeah.
It's like Superman just murdered those people. Not technically.
No.
I believe you'll find not in a court of law.
No. Who knows? They could live there a long time.
That's so funny.
That's fucking that's incredible. So I mean, I guess he is a dick and just the like
in that sense, I think. Yeah.
That's really funny.
In the sense, in as much as all comic book characters of a certain age are dicks.
Yeah. I hadn't seen that website. That's funny. All right, next question from MadSeb77, who asks, the Silver Age of DC was goofy AF, but as it was coming out in the 50s and 60s, do you think kids loved it? I mean, yeah, right? Like,
I have to assume they did. I mean, you don't make 20 years worth of that style of story if it's not working. Also, like I said, there were like 8 Superman books.
Right. Like, why would they make 8 Superman books?
Yeah.
The first 7 sold well.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, and the goofy part of it, I mean, I think that was of the period as well. Like, I think that they must be responding to it. Like,
and it was like each book was something a little different, you know?
Totally.
They had their quote unquote, I mean, you hate talking about it this way, but in the 50s, they almost certainly did. They have their quote unquote girl books, Supergirl and Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. And like most of those Lois Lane issues are her being like, how can I get Superman to marry me? Or like, I'm tired of waiting, Superman. I'm marrying this guy. That's like 60% of the Lois Lane run is that kind of shit. So they had like, they were doing that thing. And then like Superboy eventually was like kind of like a Legion book that was like those adventures. And it was like Young Adventures of Superboy. And then, Superman and Action Comics were these other kind of adult adventures of Superman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, kids must have loved it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
We're so much like less like enthusiastic about our stupid shit when we have somebody on the podcast we respect.
I'm trying, man. I'm doing it. Just wait until we get to that one where always have to put it to a classic rock song.
Well, at least you're thinking about it now.
I'm not. I'll have forgotten.
All right. First question here from Delgado Andrew, who asks, did he ever have a big moment meeting Golden Age Superman, like Flash of Two Worlds style, or was it more incidental when they crossed over? Gosh, I don't know.
I'm trying to think when Earth 2 Superman, because when they first started doing that, like, because very quickly after the Flash of Two Worlds, they it was also in the Flash, they free the Justice Society.
I don't know that I can think of like an issue where the hook of the issue was
Golden Age, Silver Age.
Silver Age meets Golden Age, like Flash of Two Worlds, or like there's the Green Lantern one where Hal meets Alan Scott or whatever.
Right.
But they did start doing these like annual like team ups where like once a year the teams would get together for Thanksgiving, like the Justice League and the Justice Society, and there'd always be like another threat or something like that happening. So they did meet eventually. I don't know about that, but I do know that there's a weird sort of thing where technically speaking, it was retconned, but technically speaking, Silver Age Superman first appears in 1947 because an editorial decision was made that on Earth 2, that Superman, like the Golden Age Superman, only became Superman as an adult, which means any Superboy stories that had been published previous to the Silver Age were retconned to be the Silver Age Superman. So technically, even before the Silver Age Superman existed, he had appeared in Golden Age Superman comics because of the retcon.
Some of the most actually bullshit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, listen, it's a comic book podcast. I don't know what to tell you.
Great.
It's like, well, you think that's actually this character, but actually, because of this time frame,
It's just fucking...
Hello, friends. I have a fun fact for you.
I'm just looking through my yeah, because at some point I'm looking at my Crisis books.
Yeah.
And like at some point Superman with the gray hair on the tufts of gray starts showing up. So it's like they are acknowledging there is, Earth 2.
Yeah. And they keep printing stories that have Golden Age Superman in it. Like if you were reading All-Star Comics, that featured the Justice Society for a bit, and he would show up in those adventures.
Yeah.
And so like independent even of like a team up thing, they were still publishing Golden Age Superman as with the Justice Society and the other one. But I can't, maybe Bruno or someone is going to yell at me, but I can't think of a big issue where it was like these two meet.
No, yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't know if this is the first time it happened, but this is certainly the first one I'm seeing. Justice League 92. And it's got, just imagine Superman, the man of might, man of steel, the man of tomorrow. Now imagine two Supermen.
I mean, that sure sounds like it.
Yeah.
If it's not the first one, it must be early on. Yeah.
It's definitely early on. They're fighting Solomon Grundy. Superman never made any money fighting Solomon Grundy.
I will literally never get tired of that joke.
No.
I'm looking for like a panel where it's like, the two of the, and I love Grown Up Robin from.
Oh yeah. Earth 2.
Rob?
Earth 2. Yeah. Earth 2 Dickery.
Call me Rob.
Years ago, we did the comedy roast, like a superhero comedy roast.
Yeah.
And one of the comedians was Rob, the aged out Robin.
That was fucking awesome. Yeah, he was drunk and yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a different story that's not included in this.
Yeah, it must have happened, but yeah.
It's probably around then though.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Crisis era definitely makes sense too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Crisis era is way later. And they definitely meet each other in Crisis, but they've already known each other, I think, by that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they must make it. I mean, that's one of my, Crisis on Infinite Earths is one of my favorite, maybe it is my favorite Superman story, just because it's like, once you get like later into it, when they keep thinking they've killed the Anti-Monitor, and then there's that, like the series of panels where like he comes back again and he's yelling like, I will not, Superman, I will not die until you die with me. I'm just like, I get shivers reading it. I just love that stuff.
It's such cool shit.
Bit of a Silver Agey ending to that story too, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, there's a ton of death too in that story.
Oh yeah, and even like Alexander Luthor, I just love that that it's like he comes from Earth 3. Lex Luthor, which is the Earth where Lex Luthor is the only superhero.
Yeah.
And he puts his son in a rocket, shoots him into
so cool.
like Earth 1's dimension. It's just like there's so much poetry to Superman when it's just done. Yeah. When you just let it be Superman.
Yeah.
Totally. Trying to make it every other, like what we like about other comic book characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is its own thing, which is always, I think, which makes it so like why it's done so well. It's very much its own thing. Like so many people have tried to like replicate it, and it never really hits the same.
Yeah, it's true.
It just hits different.
Oh wow, you're cool.
God, I'm so young.
That was a real young thing to say.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Dem Spookies, who asks, please, for the love of God, explain the complicated love dodecahedron that Superman had with Lara, Lori, and Lois. I swear to God, Lois was getting married to a new guy every issue.
Yeah,
What-
I mean, in her series, she was.
What is this like time frame of like the relationships and all that stuff? Like, how does that work?
Oh God. So Lana Lang is Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's just like his high school girlfriend.
Yeah,
right?
you know, you've read For All Seasons.
Yeah,
Lana's
yeah.
in there. She ends up marrying what's his name, Pete Ross,
Yeah.
in that one. Yeah, Lana's Smallville. Lois, obviously, Lois Lane, Metropolis. Lori Lamaris is the mermaid.
It almost feels like the best way to describe it is like that was turns out to be his first girlfriend, like when he was on vacation. You know?
Yeah, like a camp girlfriend situation.
Yeah, like summer vacation, summer loving.
Yeah.
You know,
And she was a
dating a
mermaid,
mermaid.
so literally
That's-
wet hot American summer.
I'm almost positive one of the lyrics in Summer Lovin' is, you know, splashing around, she nearly drowned.
Yeah, don't they kiss under the dock?
Holy shit!
Yeah, under the dock is where the water is.
Oh my God, this has been a mermaid story this whole time. God, the flying car at the end makes so much more sense now.
I don't know that. I mean, I know writers at some point have done all sorts of things. Like,
Yeah.
Lori kept showing up in comics after because she was like from Tritonus, like one of the lost Atlantean cities.
Oh, wow.
But like didn't know Aquaman,
Really?
like from a different city, and
Different parts of town.
she could like at a certain point, not in that first story, but she could disguise herself where like if she was dry, she had legs. And it was like Splash. It was like Splash. And then if she was like wet, she had the fin thing.
Didn't work as a couple then, I guess.
No, it wouldn't work.
Constantly transitioning.
But I think she briefly stayed.
Do you get the
with them.
joke I'm making? Because
did.
you're skipping past.
I'm trying not to linger too much on Superman having fish sex.
No, we need to figure out the physiology of this. Does she lay eggs? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I mean the scarier thing is when you think of it, like, how does Aquaman do it?
Yeah,
Does he just say like lay a bunch of eggs in the other room and then I'll like
fertilize it? Yeah, it's a good question.
Oh, I did mean to mention this earlier when we were talking about movies that get the tone right or the Silver Age
Mhm.
right. Like, I am very lucky for a lot of reasons to have a 5-year-old son. He's going to be 6 soon, but one of the many reasons is getting to watch kids shows. You know,
yeah.
and they did a Lego Flash that I don't know if anybody has seen it.
is it the one with like the red lanterns and stuff in it?
No, this is with Professor Zoom shows up. You know, Reverse Flash.
Oh yes,
shows up.
no, I might have seen this one.
And
With your daughter or just by yourself?
Yeah, with my daughter. Although I would have rented it myself,
Yeah,
probably.
and it's like a Groundhog's Day thing starts happening.
Yeah.
And then finally, Barry Allen catches up. But one of the subplots is all of the super pets are in it. Like the opening thing starts with Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh my God.
And it's just that in and of itself is like we're never going to see. Like I'm pretty sure. You know, what's this? Who's playing the new The Batman?
Pattinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to have Ace the Bat Hound in that movie.
Those fucking cowards
That would be-
in big Hollywood.
It'd be such an insane flex if they just took the only scenes in the movie that felt like Seven, and the rest of the movie was like full Adam West. Jeffrey Wright is like, "Do you know who this is?" And he goes and he reads the riddle, and it's like, "Oh yeah, a ballpoint banana." And he like, "Da-na-na-na-na."
Right. Because I mean, like that. Honestly, that's like the biggest piece of me that's like didn't enjoy Joker is the piece of me that's like he kills people with joy buzzers and giant hammers.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be Taxi Driver.
Yeah. We have that. That was a great movie. We don't need another one.
Right.
Totally.
But at any rate, I just needed to get in that quick flash Lego plug.
Totally.
It is, and the subplot of Adam like shrinks down and then like his thing breaks and then he's like, but he's so they do the humor so like they do it so well, and especially like the cyborg character is very like loose and realizes how like funny things is and like goes for high fives and stuff like that. But Adam is pure like Silver Age superhero.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, let me explain something to you. You know, that's an interesting fact. You know, stuff like that.
Oh, I love that. Has your
it's
kid
done so well.
has your kid watched Teen Titans Go yet?
Oh God, he loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, that show does not.
My 3-year-old is obsessed with Teen Titans Go.
That show does not know who it's for, and I love it for it.
My daughter runs up to me, and while her favorite game right now is, she goes, "I'm Raven, you're Starfire," and I go, "Really?" And she'll go, "Yeah, you're Starfire." I'm like, "All right."
And, like, I've shown him like covers of, you know, the new Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, no, look, that's Beast Boy, that's Changeling. That, like, look, that's Starfire. And he's like, what?
Why is her hair like that?
I'm like, this is. He's like, that's not them. And I'm like, trust me, dude.
He doesn't even say "mama" once.
Yeah, it's true. That's funny.
That's incredible.
The final button I'll put on this question is that I do think briefly Lori stayed with Clark and Lois, and that caused drama. I think she like had to move in for a bit.
Something fishy was going on.
Oh God, I think we're done here. All right, just a few more questions. We're going over to Reddit.
Everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
That's right. Reddit's a great place where everybody's really nice to everybody. First question comes from the Almighty Llama 00, who asks, do you think changing Lex Luthor's origin so that he didn't grow up in Smallville was a wise decision? Are there elements of Silver Age Lex that you would like to see return?
Meaning like in today's books that he's in Smallville?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, it's hard to just single that out of all the changes that have been made over the years and decades, really. But I guess to answer the question, I don't have a problem with it because it's, you know, there is something preposterous. I guess it depends on who was telling the story of like modern, you know, Lex Luthor being from Smallville. But there is it's hokey.
Yeah.
It's the Star Wars thing, right? Where it's like the whole, like everything comes down to like one family, right? Like it does feel like a bit preposterous, but at the same point, like I think one of the things that I like about Superman is that it's like this like high school feeling where it's like one, Superman's constantly sort of going through puberty and trying to like understand his abilities and like where he sits in the world and like what makes him a good person and how do you continue to be a good person amongst all these other things. Like it's a lot of like teenage angst, high school feelings sort of brought into these huge sort of things. And so you have the high school bully, which feels like the most like scariest person in the world. Yeah. And in this context, it's like the most rich, powerful person. And it's like, it feels high school to me. That's kind of why I like it all coming from the same place.
There's a part of me that likes to the idea where it's like there's always the, you know, you see it when you get like the Superman Red Sun or things like that. It's the nature nurture thing. And I know we're not talking about Lex being raised by the Kents or anything, but that these two very different personalities, totally different worldviews come from the same general environment, same general like upbringing, I think is interesting.
Do they do like a Lex raised by the Kents story?
I mean, maybe somewhere,
because that feels like an interesting concept.
Very interesting.
But like the idea that like they basically lived in the same town and they have these very divergent. That one person kind of retains that sort of like humble, you know, generous Midwestern kind of thing, and the other person is like, "Fuck this shit! I'm moving to the city. Fuck you, peasants," kind of thing. You know?
Yeah. Because I could also see, because I guess ultimately it's like, then the other version of it is this guy Lex Luthor claws his way to the top, finally gets everything he thinks that he wants. That now I'm finally going to be happy, and then suddenly this guy shows up who's everything he could never be.
Mm-hmm.
He's attained everything, and now he's met with like a finish line he will never reach.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And so there is this like, it's so romantic and
Yes.
devastating that way too.
That's what
Yeah.
makes Lex good.
Right. Yeah. Because he's achieved the American dream, and then suddenly it's taken from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
everything
the Lex I
he's
love.
been sold is irrelevant.
I think
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did so well in that Smallville show.
Yeah, I do
Like-
think that they played that pretty well.
I loved them sort of like coming to like have sort of growing up a bit together and having to sort of like
yeah.
to see like how the effect they can have on one another, and like him gain all that jealousy of Clark, even though he's just like, I'm just a guy in high school, like I don't know.
And
like,
sometimes it's jealousy of the abilities, and sometimes it's the jealousy of like Clark having like genuine friends and family, and people only
Yeah.
ever seem to really kind of use Lex.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah, I think the show did do a pretty good job.
I
of
love that.
Yeah.
Next question from Dante's Fire, who asks, Silver Age Smallville is a crazy place. Banks and stores getting constantly robbed, high school science experiments going deadly wrong, planes falling out of the sky, natural disasters like God hated the place. Alien invaders would scout out the town. Were things really effed up in the 60s and 70s, or was the government secretly testing Superboy? Or is it Superboy's unrecognized superpower being a danger magnet? Do you think of if Rogaine was available in the 60s, it would have helped mend Superman and Lex Luthor's friendship?
It's a fair point that when you start making Superboy comics, you're like, well, he can't be in Metropolis yet.
Yeah,
And then you have to go like, a lot of shit has to happen in Smallville.
Right. This
Yeah.
small, quiet town where nothing happened.
Yeah.
Is suddenly the epicenter of the universe.
But not to bring it back to the TV
The fucking
show.
Hellmouth.
But like a thing that the show did well is they knew they were like, we need to have too much shit happen in Smallville.
Yeah.
And their solve for that was when Superman's rocket crash lands, a bunch of radioactive kryptonite meteors land in town too.
Yeah.
And so then as he's developing powers,
Other people are.
they had their kind of villain of the week people would develop powers and that, and they were like, and they call Smallville like the meteor capital of America or
Smart.
something. Like they're like, we need some reason for so much shit to happen in this town.
It makes
Right,
sense.
There was mad scientists. There was monsters. Chloe was starting a sex cult. The whole thing was out of hand.
Yeah. God. I mean, of all the insane details about the sex cult thing, the most insane one was that it had a Smallville connection. Oh God!
That was when I was watching that doc, and I couldn't last. It was like they stretched out so long.
I know.
was just
Yeah.
like as I'm watching it, I'm like, you think you're like a way bigger star.
it does
Actually are.
it does like I'm not saying this to like trivialize the bad things people went through in that cult, but as far as cults go,
Yeah.
it feels like a very low rent Scientology where like Scientology gets Tom Cruise and John Travolta and people like that, and then
Right.
Nexium was like, who was the girl from Smallville? And
Right.
Alex
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, we also have Aunt Beru.
did they really?
Young Aunt Beru.
Oh, jeez
About a minute,
Louise.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh God.
That makes so much sense. Uh-oh. That's really funny.
I do think if there was Rogaine, just to button this, I think Superboy could. Well, do you know what? Maybe it wouldn't have mended their friendship. Superboy would be like, I know a chemical accident made you bald, but I have this other chemical that will bring back your hair. And Lex might be like, I'll come up with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Turn himself to a fucking lizard person or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like a Silver Age thing.
Yeah.
All right. Last place we're going is to the doc score.
Oh, shit. I literally did not think of it.
You had all of this time, so you just gotta do it now. Just you do a song, you use the word.
I've probably done
you
this
go
one already.
now.
Doc's my score tonight.
You definitely have.
I don't want to dox
Yep, you
your
definitely have
skull
done it.
till I see the light. Have I done that one
Yeah,
before?
you've definitely done it.
It's I have some songs where I have the riff in my head, and then other songs I know I like, I cannot recall them.
I do tend to like only a few just pop in my head every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very funny.
I think I had already done 2 Tickets to Paradise too, and that was the other one I had in my head, and I was like, don't do that one.
Oh God, we're a really stupid podcast. Next question comes from Only Here for the Hot Dickings. Oh my
God. Incredible name.
I forgot where we were. So Only Here for the Hot Dickings asks, what character or characters created in the modern era of comics would surprisingly fit well into the Silver Age Superman stories? So nothing as obvious as Captain Carrot.
So,
I mean
that
Harley
would be-
Quinn. For
Ooh,
ooh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
That's a really good one. Oh shit.
Hawkman probably already was, but
Yeah, I mean, she's almost like, she really is almost like, because it's like, oh, she's so goofy and
Yeah.
crazy. It's like she was plucked out of the Silver Age
Yeah.
and brought here.
I think you could have fun with like a character like Livewire, who, like Harley, was created in the animated universe, was created for Superman the animated series. But Livewire, in like, she's like a shock jock who gets electricity powers. She's got that sort of sassy attitude or whatever. There might be something fun about like what is the Silver Age version. She's almost kind of like Lois, would almost be like a Lois Lane kind of thing, in that like she doesn't take no guff, like that kind of shit, but then also have like electricity powers.
yeah,
Might be kind of fun.
I think a lot of those milestone characters would probably work too, like your
Oh, interesting.
Static Shock or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of those would probably
Oh,
work.
shit. Icon?
Yeah,
That's interesting too, actually.
I think a lot of those would be like, because they were like super sort of like animated comic-y, like.
Yeah, I mean, I also think, like a Booster Gold.
Oh yeah,
Booster Gold's created post-crisis, but Booster, like the idea of a hero who's in it for themselves and they're after fame, like that early era Booster before he learns this lesson a bit. Like that's a total Silver Age gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
That Superman has to teach him the value of heroism. Like,
Right. Like in the cover of Action Comics that week, it's like Booster like standing in front of Superman while they're taking pictures.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like,
He's a real Johnny Cage.
Yeah, you could totally do that. Yeah.
He's a real Mortal Kombat Johnny Cage.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God. All right, let's go to the next question. Only a couple left here. Okay. Butt Fart Butt, who asks, of all the love letters to Silver Age Superman, which do you think best amplifies the character? Oh, that's a great question.
Right. So there's a couple of sort of love letter stories to Silver Age Superman, and which ones are kind of the best versions of it? We've talked about All-Star Superman.
Yeah, that might, because how can you go wrong with Grant Morrison? Yeah, it might be All-Star Superman.
There's also, it was sort of an unofficial, it's technically not, well, I think it's technically not canon, but who really keeps track of that?
Or What Happened to the Man of Tomorrow?
Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, that Alan Moore one, that was like right post-crisis, sort of wrapping up the Silver Age of Superman. That's
also like when Jeff Johns, when Candor got big again, like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Because there was that was an interesting run too of like, I think he had just been fighting Brainiac, I think right before that, and then they were finally able to like, enlarge Candor, and then all of a sudden it's just like this, it was just such because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, when you're reading Superman, it's like, gosh, is he ever going to figure out how to do it? And then it's like, well,
yeah,
it's almost like when you read the death of Superman, you're like, I can't believe Superman died. And it's like, well,
yeah,
this is, they've covered they've tread these tires many times before.
It's not fully as a story a love letter to Silver Age Superman, but there's an element of that Doomsday Clock series that I really like. which is that the thing that really fucks up history is Dr. Manhattan goes back in time and he moves the Green Lantern out of Alan's reach, so he dies in a train wreck and doesn't become Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And then because of that, there's no Justice Society. But then from there, the thing is, then there's no one to inspire Clark to be Superboy, so he doesn't become Superman till later.
Oh, wow.
And if he's never Superboy, he doesn't inspire the Legion, so it like affects the future. And I like the idea of like Superman, not necessarily at the beginning of all of it, but he's sort of between the like he sees some good. Yeah. And it convinces him to do good, and then he becomes such an inspiration that 1,000 years in the future, it spawns this other thing. There's something kind of Silver Agey, I think, about that you don't just erase the Justice Society. If you mess with Superman's arc, you fuck up the future. And I kind of dig that. It does, even if he becomes Superman as an adult, like there's something kind of, I don't know, there's something sort of Silver Agey about that, like about his sort of symbolic presence that I kind of like.
Yeah, now that you mention it, the I didn't dig on Final Crisis, but the Legion of Three Worlds that happened during that is so good. And then, Superboy Prime as a villain is really one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
So there is that. Even just once that character turns heel, it's like it's perfect. It's perfect, because you've got that Lex Luthor from Smallville type thing.
Yeah.
But it's Superboy,
Yeah. It should have been me.
Yeah. It's really well crafted. I love
Definitely.
That. Well, that was the last question.
Well, goddamn.
Yeah, but before we go, we just have one last thing to do. It's time to play everyone's favorite game. Can you guess the name of the character based on who someone who does not read comic books can describe that character to us? Really catchy title. All it means is if you haven't played it before, I send a photo of a DC character to my wife who does not read comic books, nor does she care for them, doesn't like playing this game even, and hates that I've implicated her in this. She sends back, wives.
A lucky lady.
Yeah, God. She sends back 4 clues describing what she sees. The doctor and the guest do not know who this is, but can they guess?
Yeah. So you can guess as many times as you want. There's no rules other than trying to guess it.
The only rule is there's no rules.
And I will say, just for the record, often the clues are just about the specifics of the one image. May not actually be helpful about the character.
Oh, you mean that this is unhelpful and challenging? I don't understand.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. 4 clues. The first clue. Crotch drapes.
Okay.
Right. So something.
Yeah.
So like some sort of loincloth.
Yeah.
Drapery in the crotchal area.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to guess, or do you want another clue?
Oh, I'll guess when they would do like oh God, I'm gonna guess it's Orion.
Oh, that's a good that's good, but no.
Is it hell?
No.
Okay.
Next clue?
Sure, yeah.
Next clue. Lots of cuffs.
Definitely somebody Jack Kirby would draw.
It is somebody that Jack Kirby would draw.
Totally, because I'm thinking like the cuffs on the boots, the cuffs on the gloves.
It's absolutely created by Jack Kirby.
Yeah, it's got to be one or something. A big what's her name? Big
Barda?
Yeah, Big Barda.
Ooh, no.
Is it Atlas?
It's not.
Oh, damn it.
All right.
Clue number 3.
Shit. I really thought I had it there.
Clue number 3.
Yeah.
Bad skin condition.
Oh, fuck. Oh, what's his name? Or what's her name? Oh, fuck. Shit.
That's right. It's oh fuck shit.
Fuck.
Skin condition. Is it Mad Harriet?
No. I promise you the 4th clue will give it away.
Okay.
And it'll be a race to who can answer first.
Sure. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know. Dark Side.
No.
Shit.
I will say this is a bit of a deep cut too.
Okay.
But it is a Kirby created character. It was a character that Kirby created like right as he was leaving too. And it definitely feels like that.
It's not like no, she didn't have a skin condition. I was gonna say like Beautiful Dreamer or something like that, but
Beautiful dreamer.
okay.
I can barely get you.
I'm on it. I feel like the person I'm picturing too was a Marvel character.
Okay. The last clue.
All right.
Shit.
Snake Throne.
Cobra?
Yes.
Wow.
Cobra. Yeah, created it in like 1979 by Jack Kirby just as he was heading out the door. Basically, whoever took it on, I can't remember who it was, but they hated it and they were like, this is like, they erased all of Jack Kirby's words that he had written and just rewrote over it and then drew a bunch of extra shit too. And they were like, I guess this is fucking something that we're gonna do. He shows up again, I think, later on. And like
Cobra keeps showing up.
Yeah. I think he shows up in Final Crisis at some point because everybody does. But
Cobra and Bane have a thing at one point. Not like a thing, like a violent thing.
I realized I was about to do the Bane thing in front of the person who did Bane, and I got very nervous for a second.
That's right. The definitive Bane of our time.
That's my Bane. Hashtag
Yeah.
my Bane.
I mean, just before we let you go, I'd be remiss.
Yeah, we're at the end now, so we can reveal our.
I'd be remiss if I
fandom.
didn't ask how was that for you as someone that likes comics? Just getting to riff on the silliness of comics. That was like so cool in those Batman things is to take like the super serious Nolan
Yeah,
world
Pete did a
and
bunch
then
of that kind of
reintroduce the silliness. I think.
Yeah. I mean, no one was doing that. And now it feels like you can find a lot of people doing like the dumb Batman,
Yeah.
which it was not a thing. But as a comic fan, it was, I was very grateful because Pete was always going to be Batman, and then the one time we did the Joker, he was also Joker. But then I got to be everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, and especially once we got to the point where it was like almost like not too unlike when the Star Wars comics that Marvel did, once they finished the movie, then they were just making Star Wars comics, they were just on their own. And like there's definitely like people today might, and especially younger people today, don't have an appreciation of there was no more Star Wars, so there was only the comic book.
Right.
So once we got to Riddler, it was like, okay, we're just going to be doing these in the Nolan tone, but in our universe.
Yeah.
And I will say this, as Commissioner Gordon from that universe, I declared that all took place on Earth CH. So there you go.
I think my favorite moment from all of those is it's in the Penguin one with Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to explain the concept of death to Batman, and he thinks the men just fall asleep, and he goes, "What happened to Mr. Fishy happened to these men," and Batman says, "I overfed these men," and I think that's maybe one of my favorite little moments.
I don't remember if it made the final cut or if it was just an outtake, but at one point Patton goes, "Don't tell anybody he caught me, just say it was Plastic Man." which really hit me hard.
So embarrassed. Yeah,
That's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah, Matt,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this was an extra special episode for us. We've had a lot of like huge comic creators and other comedians and stuff on this, but we definitely super geeked out to have you on. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
We're huge, gigantic fans of yours. So
I love that. Thanks.
yeah, tell people where they can find you. You're definitely a great TikTok follow. So what do you got going on?
Matt McCarthy on TikTok, McCarthy Redhead, all forms of social media. If you dig pro wrestling, I do the We Watch Wrestling podcast. New episodes up on Wednesdays, and I have my latest stand-up album is available wherever you listen to music digitally, Bandcamp, Amazon Music, Spotify, wherever, Apple Music. Matt McCarthy, Sober Dad.
And we would love to hear from you, residents. Did you guess the clues before the fourth clue?
No.
I mean, I bet Bruno might have.
No.
Yeah, Bruno's the best.
By the way, that's not his name anymore. His name is only here for the Dickings, or the hot Dickings.
And I love him for it. My little dicklings.
So crazy.
But fuck you, Ryan. Yeah, so if you want to reach out to us through our ton of social media platforms, you can do so through our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
our Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
Instagram.
Dr. DC Podcast.
You can email us.
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
Jump, have some fun on our subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
The doc phone is always open.
208-917-3238.
Bring, bring. It's the doc phone, 208-917-DCEU.
Oh, is that how it rings if the phone was made in Portugal, but you bought it in Ireland?
No, it's my dandy phone.
bring.
Oh, it's my dandy phone. Bring, bring. You, of course, go to our website.
DrDCPodcast.com or .ca.
Of course, we are on iTunes.
Sure.
Give us a 5-star review there.
You paused like I was supposed to. Yeah, Apple ID number 437.
No, we want those 5-star reviews, baby.
Yeah.
Give
we
'em.
want them.
Yeah.
Give them to us. We're award winners. Canadian podcast award winners.
Yeah, who only talk about that kind of thing when our guest that we're very nervous around leaves.
Yeah, I'm so confident all the time.
At the second he leaves, we're like, hey, yeah, we're the best.
Yeah, come.
Yeah, let's sing all our songs and do all of our drops now. Send us
I
some.
still can't think of another rock song.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You're bad at it. Send us a physical piece of mail.
Yeah.
That's all right.
301 Hogue Street. That's Hoge Street in Whitehorse, Yukon, Y1A1V8.
Look at you.
Ooh.
Yeah, send it to either Richard Eden or Reed Vanier.
Reed Vanier.
Yeah, you'll never spell that right.
R-E-I-D.
No, and of course we're on Patreon.
Victor.
Every single week,
A-N-I-E-R.
you can get a whole extra episode of our podcast for only $5 or $7, and you get an extra video on top of that.
Crazy talk. Every level on Patreon gives you access to the Doc Squad. It's so much fun.
That's
Do it.
And if you
Do
want
it.
please.
We're podcast award winners.
Even I've been making videos every once in a while.
Yeah.
Talking about my prescribed dickings. Yeah, it's the canonical now.
Yeah. It's prescribed dickings.
Yeah, I even changed it when I named it on the
Yeah.
episode. Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
prescribed dickings. For my little dicklings. And of course, if you want even more content, you could subscribe to our other podcast.
Ghost Facers, a Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural.
If you like DC Comics, you'll probably like Supernatural.
We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff. We are more than halfway through season 3.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
It's crazy.
We're going to be done any day now.
Yeah, we're
whole
almost
series.
there. How many seasons are there?
Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of light.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.